thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes. And then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why. But the offense, I think, for us, it starts on defense. And we, struggled, scouting report wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us. And then, overall, we just played with more energy and effort, and those are the things that just can't happen.
What happens when your own coach throws the team under the bus after getting humiliated on your home floor? Stephanie White just did exactly that after the Fever got run off the court in an 82-61 beatdown by the expansion team Golden State Valkyries. And make no mistake,
drama in this WNBA game. This happened a while ago.
By a brand new franchise. The timing even worse. It was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's glorious return from injury. Just days earlier, the Fever had taken down Aja Wilson's Las Vegas Aces in that play. Nafisa Collier's Minnesota Lynx, Cambridge Fieldhouse rafters. But instead of strategic adjustments, White's coaching left experts baffled. Then, in the postgame, she blamed everyone. Competitive. So the real question, can the Fever trust this kind of
down when the Atlanta Dream got chippy with her, especially Reinhardt.
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it. She was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right. She also needs to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
My career, 6 points and 8 turnovers. Not only did I take a huge dump all over the court.
Holding their first ever Commissioner's Cup trophy, finally clicking on all cylinders. They didn't just win, they dismantled the Aces and made one of the league's top stars, Aja Wilson, look human. Then they handled Nafisa Collier and the Lynx with poise and power. Confidence was soaring. The chemistry was undeniable. This team looked like it had finally arrived.
Caitlin, you've had career high school, college, pros. You never were really injured before and had to sit out. Now it's been twice. How do you mentally go through that part besides the physical rehab while you're sitting out? How do you cope with it at home, killing time?
It's honestly been hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult, going to prepare for games, but knowing you're not going to be playing in them, and I think just reminding myself of, my abilities and what I've been able to do in this league, even though I've been sitting out, and, just trying to be a great teammate, be a great leader, even though I've been on the bench, and serve my teammates in that way.
And then came July 9th, Caitlin Clark's much anticipated return from a groin injury that kept her out for 5 games, including the Cup final. Her comeback was supposed to be a moment of magic. The hype was off the charts. The Fever faithful filled every seat inside Cambridge Fieldhouse, buzzing with anticipation. The arena was electric. The stage was set.
I think it's given me great perspective on what other people have gone through their career. And, like you said, I've been fortunate enough to never really been injured, and I play a lot of minutes usually. So I think it gives me good perspective, not only for people that are injured, but, some of your teammates that may not be getting the minutes that they want to get. And I think I can use that experience to be a better leader, to be a better teammate. But also it's challenging me mentally. I think, it's really hard to stop and go. And especially when you're not feeling your best. So just trying to get my body as healthy as I can be and remain confident in myself, and then do everything I can once I step back out on the court to help us win.
We watched a meltdown. The Fever didn't just lose, they got demolished 82-61 by a team that, on paper, shouldn't even be in playoff conversations yet. The Valkyries played. Like playoff veterans, the Fever looked lost and out of sync. And the sting was deeper because this was the second loss to Golden State this season. This was supposed to be redemption, a celebration, a statement. But Clark's return didn't ignite the offense. Instead, the Fever shot a miserable 31% from the floor and a dreadful 6 of 27 from 3. The movement sluggish, the timing off the offense, completely broken into.
Benley lays that one in. Look at the attack, how quickly off the floor. And Clark hits a 3. The Fever have hit.
Managed. Just 19 points combined in the second and fourth quarters. Let that sink in. 19 total points in 20 minutes of basketball. They surrendered 10 offensive boards in the second half alone, giving the Valkyries endless extra possessions. Every possession felt like a chore. Defensive stops were rare. The buzz in the building turned into stunned silence. You could feel the heartbreak in the crowd. Fans came ready to party. Instead, they witnessed a collapse. Even Clark admitted the team fell flat, saying, "I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes, and then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why."
It's every single person on our team, and, nobody played well today. And, you should look yourself in the mirror and find ways where you can get better. And, come back to practice tomorrow and then play again on Friday.
Wasn't just a bad night. This was a full-on system crash. The same team that looked unstoppable just a week ago suddenly looked like they'd forgotten how to play the game. But what made jaws drop wasn't the scoreboard, it was what happened after the final buzzer. That's when the finger-pointing began.
I think collectively we didn't do a good job at taking away the stuff that their team likes to do and making them do things they don't want to do. We didn't do a good job of that. We also gave up some timely offensive rebounds that they do a great job of kicking it out, getting open looks, getting open threes late in the game. I think it really just comes down to effort and us not locking in mentally and following the scouting report.
Here's where things got truly baffling. Coach Stephanie White made decisions that had fans and analysts alike yelling at their TVs. She benched Lexi Hull, the same Lexi Hull who had been one of the team's steadiest defenders and most reliable three-point shooters all season. She'd been a key starter, perfectly complementing Clark's style with spacing and perimeter defense. White tossed all of that aside like it didn't matter.
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right, she also needed to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
In her place, White started Ari McDonald at point guard, the energetic spark plug who held down the fort while Clark was out, but that pushed Clark out of position off ball, playing small forward instead of her natural role. And that's the head scratcher. Why take the ball out of the hands of the most dynamic point guard in the league? Clark's strength is orchestrating the offense. That's where she shines. That's how you win. White stripped that away.
What did you like about Caitlin and Ari starting the game together and Lexi coming off the bench?
Yeah, I like the ability to have two primary ball handlers on the floor, particularly with a team that comes aggressively, in the two-man game. Being able to play off of one another, being able to give the opponent some different looks, and quite frankly, for Steve specifically, not having to have her play under duress 94 feet the entire time she's on the floor. So there were some things that we liked about it. There were some things that we don't. So we'll continue to work with that.
And the result, predictably disastrous. Clark couldn't find her rhythm. The offense stalled. It felt awkward and clunky from the jump. She needed touches to create for others, but instead she was forced into an off-ball role, running screens and fading into the background. One analyst even said, it looked like they threw this lineup together 5 minutes before tip.
Look, she can give her different looks. It could turn into something beautiful. I'm excited to see both of them on the floor together because they can create shots for one another. But it didn't happen today. So you should have made the adjustments once the offense looked so stagnant, looked so lost, discoordinated. You should have went ahead and changed that. All right? You should have changed that.
Lexi Hull had been essential to the Fever's rise. Her spacing opened the floor for Clark's drives. Her outside shooting kept defenders honest. Her defense was dependable. All of that disappeared when she hit the bench. Suddenly, the Fever looked like a completely different team, and not in a good way. The Valkyries pounced on every mistake. The new lineup had no chemistry. The fluid offense they once had turned into a series of desperate, contested shots. Everything that made them special during the Commissioner's Cup run gone in a flash.
So what happened? The Fever? Slow it down! They get into the beautiful motion offense we've all been in love with since the start of the season. Oh, pass, screen away. Oh, what a thing of beauty. Pass, screen away. Oh my goodness. Did you see how Kelsey Mitchell just set that screen? Mwah! Magnificent. And the Valkyrie, Natalie Nakase, and the crew, they said, oh, now's our time to strike. So over the remainder of the first quarter, the whole entire second quarter, after being up 20-11 with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, the Golden State Valkyrie proceed to go on a 30-12 run for the next 13 minutes.
Just when the team needed her most, Stephanie White made the most confusing call of all, limiting Caitlin Clark's minutes. Yes, this was her first game back from injury, but the offense was blinding. The crowd was begging for a spark, and Clark is the spark, but White kept her on a short leash. Every time Clark hit the bench, the momentum died. The offense stalled. The ball barely moved. Wide open looks disappeared. Instead, the Fever kept forcing tough, contested shots while elite shooters like Hull and Mitchell watched helplessly. The same offense that once flowed like water now looked completely shattered.
I would say we can do better than the motion offense when Caitlin Clark's on the bench. We can utilize Kelsey. We can utilize AB. We can utilize Ari. We can do things. But no. No. Caitlin Clark was a decoy for many parts of this game. Majority of this game, dare I say. She didn't seem like a threat, other than when the ball is in her hands, which Stephanie White literally has a heart attack. It says, no, Caitlin, no. Too many assists, stop. Too much facilitating, cut it out.
These weren't minor tweaks. They were seismic shifts that tore apart the very identity the Fever had just built. A new lineup, Clark out of position, one of their most reliable starters benched. And what did it lead to? A brutal 19-point loss to an expansion team. But White wasn't done. What she said after the game would prove even more damaging than any play on the court. What happened at that post-game press conference? It changed the entire conversation about leadership. Stephanie White stepped to the mic and did the unthinkable. She threw her players under the bus.
I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. With the exception of about 2 5-minute spurts. Our attention to detail was poor. I'm not sure if it's not knowing the game plan as much as, because if it's not knowing the game plan, then that's a whole nother conversation, as much as not executing the game plan.
She said, I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. That's right. She blamed effort, but she didn't stop there. Our attention to detail was poor. Ouch, these words hit hard. They hit players who just gave every ounce of energy. They hit fans who saw heart, even in defeat. It felt like a public betrayal.
Our attention to detail, undisciplined. I felt like our energy and our competitive fire was not there, and that's disappointing.
I guess, why do you think you had some of these inconsistencies when it comes to focus and engagement, things like that?
I'd say discipline more so than focus. I think this is a group that focuses, but you can focus, and then you have to be able to go out and be disciplined enough to execute it, right? I'm not sure. We're as coaches, that's our job to figure it out. Why it is. You've seen it in spurts, you've seen it in moments, you've seen it with certain lineups. So finding those lineups that we've seen it with consistently, and maybe keeping those together.
Is the part that stunned. Everyone White took zero accountability. Not a word about the risky lineup shuffle. No explanation for the Ari McDonald experiment. Not even a mention of why Lexi Hull didn't play a bigger role. It was like her own decisions didn't even exist. She deflected blame at every turn.
It doesn't take much. There's other ways. But to give up your defensive presence just to mitigate that? Come on, man. To give up your defensive presence, Lexi Hull, somebody who hustles to get rebounds, right? Hustles to get the rebounds. She had like 7 to 8 rebounds. 7 to 8 rebounds, man. We're going to look at the stats. But she was hustling.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark stepped up to the mic and did what leaders do. She owned it. She didn't dodge the tough questions. I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive, Clark said. But the offense, I think, starts on defense. We struggled, scouting report-wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us. She didn't point fingers. She pointed inward. She acknowledged the breakdowns and looked for answers, not excuses. While the coach deflected, the rookie accepted responsibility.
Our team, we have a lot of inconsistency. We raise to the occasion when we're playing for 30,000, and then we need to bring that level of focus and that level of energy every single day. It's really hard to win in this league, and I think, we need to focus every game because all of these games matter when September, October comes. So it's really just going to come to us, and we really need to regroup, turn the page, learn from this.
And that's when analysts started raising the red flag. One analyst said bluntly, clearly, her philosophy on basketball does not suit Caitlin Clark. It was more than just bad tactics, it was a fundamental mismatch in basketball ideologies. White wants structure, Clark thrives on freedom and improvisation. One system tries to control every pass. The other lets instinct and creativity lead. That kind of friction can't last, and as one analyst put it, the Fever are getting dangerously close to a decision point. Stephanie White or Caitlin Clark, because at this rate, the two might not be able to coexist.
It has come down to this, y'all, and it's plain and simple. Caitlin Clark has to give the Indiana Fever an ultimatum. That's right. I've been disgusted all day about this piss poor, embarrassing performance from the players, and most of all, from this coaching staff. Stephanie White, I'll say it again, you are a pure bum of a coach.
Now, here we are. The Fever didn't just lose, they imploded. One of the worst defeats of the season. But this wasn't just about scoreboards or stat sheets. This exposed everything that's been simmering under the surface. Poor decision-making, zero accountability, a coach struggling to maximize a generational talent. Just 1 week ago, this team was riding high, beating the Aces, outclassing the Lynx, lifting their first Commissioner's Cup. And back then, they played to their strengths.
As long as Stephanie White is here, we'll never see the true greatness that Caitlin Clark has within her. We'll never see it. Caitlin Clark has to march up to that front office and say, hey, look, either you guys are gonna fix this and we're gonna do it my way, or I will not put on this jersey and I will not allow you guys to profit off of me any longer. It's that simple. You want her or you want me? I'm gonna pick the coach. I'm gonna tell you what players I want on this team. Caitlin Clark has to put her foot down. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I have never seen someone fumble, just flat out fumble a golden goose like this. The WNBA has fumbled her. The Indiana Fever management, coaching staff, everybody has failed Caitlin Clark at every single turn. All of
everything worked. Hole stretched the floor with her. Shooting, Boston owned the paint. Mitchell delivered when they needed points. Every piece fit perfectly. But fast forward to the Valkyries game and it all fell apart. Rotations made no sense. Players looked lost. The chemistry vanished. Clark was out of position. McDonald was trying to run the offense beside her, on the bench when her shooting was needed most. That kind of regression was hard to watch. The same squad that looked like title contenders days ago now looked like strangers.
I just feel like starting out this new combo, this new duo, who hasn't really had that much time to get into game reps. Game reps are nothing like practice reps. They are nothing like practice reps. You can go down the line in history and you will hear coaches and players say that it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same pace. It's not the same energy. It's not the same effort. It's not the same. There's nothing like game reps.
Clark showed flashes of what could have been, especially in the third quarter. That's when she finally got to touch the ball. She scored 3 points, snagged a board, and dished out for assists. It was a glimpse of how much better this team can be when Clark is allowed to lead. The talent is undeniable. Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Hull. They've beaten the league's best, but talent needs direction. Smart coaching, a system that empowers players, not restrains them. Right now, that's missing. And with the season approaching its halfway point, the Fever have to ask, will leadership rise to meet the moment or waste the window?
In fact, we almost look worse like that. And my last warning that I would say to the Indiana Fever brass, this might come as a little bit of a low blow for you guys, but hey, it is what it is. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged 4,000 people in attendance for home games. 4,000 people. Do you want to go back to that or no? Just let me know.
Yet, despite all the drama and disappointment, hope still lingers. Clark's brilliance is impossible to ignore. Even in a rough outing, she dropped 5 quick points and created for her teammates. Boston remains a cornerstone, kind of dominant, big you build dynasties around. Mitchell is a bucket. She's fearless, clutch, and reliable when given the right role. The blueprint for success is there, but only if the coach adapts. Only if the system fits the talent, not the other way around. So what do you think? Should Stephanie White be held accountable? Drop a comment below, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Tap the video on your screen now, we've got more heat coming.